Aloha, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight. This Kailua Neighborhood Board regular meeting for June 2025 is called to order. This is the last meeting of the current two-year term. The first item of business on any hybrid meeting is a roll call to establish who's here in person and who's here online. Josiah Akau. Jennifer Barra. Present. Travis Council. Present. Jay Etzenbach. Jeff Klein. Present. Kellyanne Kobayashi. David Laea. Present. Jade Lau. Present. Lavani Lipton. Kate Ryder. Present. Claudine Tomasa. Present. Steve Trecker. Present. Evan Weber. Gary Weller. Present. John White. Donna Wong. Jeff Zuckernick. Present. And I'm present. All right, we have 11 board members present, all in person. No board member remotely logged in at this point. We have a quorum. First item of business tonight is a board vacancy. We have a vacancy from a resignation for the term ending June 30th. So if we fill it, it's only really for tonight's meeting. This is Subdistrict 2, Enchanted Lake. Board members may nominate candidates to fill the vacancy. Proof of subdistrict residency is required. Candidates may speak for 3 minutes prior to board voting. Are there any nominations for the board vacancy? And none online. So no nominations. The vacancy will remain vacant until filled next month. Announcements. Like to introduce Brandon Sark. He is our new neighborhood board assistant, replacing Spencer Johnson, who served for 4 years as our assistant since May of 2021. It's great to have Spencer. It's great to have Brandon. Aloha. Kailua Neighborhood Board election results. Congratulations to all of our newly elected board members, and we have 7 new board members joining the board. That's 7 out of 19. Mahalo to our current board members who did not seek re-election, but mahalo for their distinguished service to the community. Josiah, member since 2021, Travis Council, member since 2023 and chair of the Transportation Committee. Jeff Klein, member since 2024. Kayala Morel, member since 2023. Jeff Zuckernick, member since 2015. And am I missing anyone? Oh, yes. Claudine Tomasa, member for 30 years. Chairman of our Public Safety, Public Health, Civil Defense Committee, single-handedly coordinated action following the Japanese tsunami to make Kailua tsunami ready. The spark plug behind countless disaster preparedness fairs in the windward side. Such an engaged member of our board and in the community, and 30 years of making a difference in Kailua. Mahalo, Claudine. As we do every year at the I Love Kailua party, we conducted Kailua Neighborhood Board annual survey. This year we had 186 respondents, and the numerical results are posted on our Google Drive. It's the same Google Drive as our meeting materials, but in a separate section. So if anyone is interested in the annual survey results, they're there, and we're going to receive a presentation, I think, at our next meeting with a PowerPoint further analysis of it. Kailua Legislative Town Hall. Please join Senators Keahokalole and Lee and Representatives Lee and Martin on Wednesday, June 18th at 6 p.m. at the Kailua District Park Multipurpose Room. Transportation and Public Works Committee meeting next Thursday, June 12th, will begin at 7:15 rather than the usual start time of 7:45. And the 4th of July will be the day after our July 3rd meeting, but just so everyone's aware, our 76th annual Kailua 4th of July parade will take place at 10 a.m. and around 8 p.m. will be the Kailua 4th of July fireworks. And more information is on the Kailua Chamber of Commerce website. Are there any other announcements for tonight? All right, online? All right, we'll move on to reports from HPD and HFD. We'll start with Honolulu Police Department.
Good evening, I'm Officer Jared Atkins, District 4 Community Policing Team. I believe present is Lieutenant Drew Coggy, Night Watch Commander. I'll have the stats for today. So for the month of May in Kailua, there were 5 motor vehicle thefts versus 2 the previous month. There were 4 burglaries in May versus 5 the previous month. There were 16 thefts in Kailua versus 25 the previous month. There were 5 UMVs, car break-ins versus 6 the previous month. There were 2 robberies in May versus 3 the previous month. And then I believe Lieutenant Akagi has announcements as well.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to update everyone in the Kailua community about the construction that's been going on at the Kailua Police Station. We are in the process of replacing the gas tank, which was in dire need of a replacement. And we are on schedule right now to complete the installation sometime at the end of the month of June so that we can clear our vehicles off of the roadway. I know it's an inconvenience for everyone, and we want to get them off the roadway as soon as possible. So just to let you guys know that, yes, we are on schedule to complete somewhere around the ending of June. Other than that, answer any questions that you folks may have.
Okay, are there any other portions of your presentation tonight? All POW. All POW on the presentation? Okay, are there any questions for Honolulu Police Department this evening? Levani Lipton.
So I just want to clarify, I think you just said this, all the vehicles that are parked in that far right-hand lane, will they all be moved and go somewhere else so that lane will open up again at the end of June?
Yes, so we had to lose over half of our parking spaces due to the installation of the gas tank outside. So we had to get a permit to park on the roadway. So they will be all removed and placed back onto the property once we gain our parking stalls back. Yes.
All right, good to know that HPD even needs to get permits for stuff. Any online questions? Okay, all right, we'll move on to any questions from the audience. Yes, sir. If you wouldn't mind using a microphone, please, so the recording can hear you.
The name's Chris Evans, and I was just really concerned about on the news, we keep seeing that a lot of people are getting arrested for DUIs when they're blowing zeros on the breathalyzer. So I don't know if you could address that at all, but that was quite concerning for me, considering we have often checkpoints going out of Kailua. And I don't drink, but I don't want to get arrested either.
Thank you for that question, sir. Yes, so that is an item that is in the news right now. I don't understand exactly or have the facts, information that what exactly had on that involved in that case, so I can't speak with it. But based on my experience, I've been in the what we call the night enforcement unit for many years, and I've done many DUI stops, and I do oversee the roadblocks that do occur here in Kailua, Kaneohe. And I can assure you that everything will be followed by procedures and the proper protocols will be followed to ensure that, we are abiding by the laws and rules and regulations we're upheld to. Yes.
Yeah, that's important. Are there other questions for HPD tonight?
Bill?
Jade Lau.
I just have a clarifying question. Narcotics or other drugs would not necessarily show up on a breathalyzer, but they would be used in driving under the influence. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. So if somebody is arrested for driving under the influence and blows zero on the breathalyzer, one could assume that it's a different influence other than alcohol.
If they blow zeros, and they fail the field sobriety test, what we usually do is we bring a drug recognition expert in to run them through a series of tests and applications to try and determine what type of drugs that the person may or may not be under the influence of.
Okay, so just because somebody blows a zero doesn't mean that HPD hasn't gone through all of the proper steps to
No,
take an
yes,
unsafe driver off the road.
correct.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other questions? Yes, ma'am. If you could use the microphone, please.
Hi there. Thank you. My question is, driving towards Lanikai by the canal, just before I go over the bridge to the right, I'm seeing more and more homeless gathering, living there. I mean, I don't know if that's your jurisdiction or not, or it's, once they start gathering, there's more and more and more. Is that the city to address these homeless people living there where they shouldn't be living?
Thank you for that concern. We definitely can go take a look at it and see what's happening. And what we do is, Officer Atkins, he's with their community policing teams. We do these stored ordinances, events where we go over there, offer services, and then the city has to store their property for so many days before we can get rid of it. But we do go over there and do a cleanup and offer services and so forth. So that's something we can look into. Thank you.
And is the bridge by Buzz's? Okay. Thank you. Other questions for HPD? Online? Okay. Mahalo for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Honolulu Fire Department.
Good evening. I'm Captain Alan Hackbarth from the Kailua Fire Station. Here to give the stats for last month. Some previously requested information was about the mountain rescues that were conducted in April. The last captain that was here reiterated that the mountain rescues that took place were one on the Lanikai Pillbox Trail, one was on the Pili Valley Trail, Ridge Trail, and also the Monowili Trail. Those were the areas of the rescues. The stats for May, we had 1 structure fire, 1 wildland brush fire, 8 activated alarms where no fire was reported, 77 medical alarms, 4 motor vehicle collisions, 1 mountain rescue, 1 ocean rescue, and 1 hazardous materials incident. Our fire safety tip for the month has to deal with our fire department website. We have an announcement that the Honolulu Fire Department is excited to announce the launch of 2 new public data tools on its official website at fire.honolulu.gov. One is the incident trend dashboard, and the other is the fire response search tool. The incident trends dashboard gives residents easy access to 5 years of emergency data by neighborhood, including fire, rescue, medical, and hazardous materials incidents, with interactive maps and charts. And dashboard helps communities better understand the emergency trends in their area. The fire response search tool replaces the previous response mapping tool, which is no longer supported and was taken down. This tool enables individuals and entities to look up specific emergency incidents in which they have an interest in or may be been involved in or affected by. This tool enhances transparency and provides residents with efficient and direct access to incidents in a secure and accessible format. Developed by the Honolulu Fire Department's Planning and Development Division with the help from the City and County of Honolulu Po'okela Fellows intern, these data tools reflect our ongoing commitment to transparency, innovation, and community engagement. To access these data tools, please visit fire.honolulu.gov/news and info. With that, any questions?
Any questions this evening for HFD? Gary Weller.
Now that we have a new fire marshal, how does that hierarchy work with the county fire departments?
The fire marshal is actually a state entity. It doesn't have, we interact with them, but I'm pretty sure they're not overseeing anything that the Honolulu Fire Department does.
So will her department set the standards for large pieces of land that aren't maintained properly, or how do you foresee her doing her job?
Yeah, I believe that she'll be more in charge of like state wildland areas and trying to coordinate with the Honolulu Fire Department about, seeing what the best response issues that we have. We'll be communicating back and forth on what we do with them, and hopefully we'll just come together with better plans in the future.
Because we have a lot of parcels of land in Kailua that is all like California grass or alicoa, which catches fire very easily. And I understand that there's a state law that if you're a large landowner, you're supposed to keep 35 feet cleared away from the homes. And if there are trees involved, you have to keep 100 feet. Is that something she's going to finally enforce?
I'm not exactly sure what her direct involvement is going to be. I can try to find out how well she'll be involved with that. Normally, the state would have an oversight on those larger landowners that have areas that need to be addressed.
All right, Claudine Tomasa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You mentioned that there was a brush fire. Is it in Kailua? And do you happen to know where in Kailua?
I will find out exactly where that brush fire was. I'm pretty sure it wasn't. It doesn't seem it. I don't think it was like a big one because I don't think it was like a multi-response issue. Pretty sure it was like a small one, but I will find out where the brush fire was.
Okay, and just email our chair. Thank you.
Other questions tonight from the board? Questions online? Questions from the audience? Yes, ma'am. If you could use the microphone, please.
So I regularly cycle and find lots of offenses happening around fire hydrants. people parking in front of them. And I recognize that everybody may not be deterred by what I'm deterred by, which is a catastrophe. But I don't know what to do when I see that, and that they're mostly tourists. And I've talked to a lot of them, and I say, you know, do you want to cause another Lahaina here? And they mostly ignore me or give me a flippant response. But what can we do to improve that? Because they're right in front of the fire hydrant all the time. It's not sometimes, it's every day, and all of them.
Thanks for that question. Mostly, what we'll do is we'll have you call 911, report it to the police. The police have the ability to tow the vehicles away and ticket them if they are parked in front of the hydrant. We don't, I mean, if I do see one, normally I'll tell my dispatch to notify the police department that someone's parked in front of the hydrant. I wouldn't like be confronting people to keep yourself safe, but yeah, I would report it to the police station, the police officers, call 911 and tell them that there's somebody parked in front of the hydrant. Most likely, well, hydrants in Hawaii are usually within 75 feet of each other. So if there is somebody blocking one hydrant, we'll do our best to get water no matter what from either that hydrant around the car or from a hydrant that's close by. So I wouldn't, I wouldn't put yourself into an argument with anybody, but I would tell you to notify police that there is somebody blocking the hydrant and try to get them towed or ticketed.
All right, mahalo. Any other questions? All right, mahalo. The city's newest department is Honolulu's Ocean Safety Department. And it was an oversight on my part creating tonight's agenda that I neglected to include a report from Honolulu Ocean Safety Department along with HPD and HFD. It takes 13 members to modify the agenda. We have 13 members present. Let me just make this simple. Is there any objection to modifying the agenda to include at this time a report from Honolulu Ocean Safety Department? Seeing no objections, the agenda is modified, and mahalo for joining us tonight. We look forward to our first ever Ocean Safety Department representative report.
Good evening. My name is Lieutenant Tristan Fabro. I work with Honolulu Ocean Safety Windward Operations District 2. I just wanted to present to you guys some statistics from the Kailua part of our district. In May 2025, we saw 123,870 visitors, which includes locals, tourists, outer island people, to our beaches. We performed about 8,400 preventative actions. We made 13,950 public contacts. We had 21 rescues, 1 resuscitation, and 1 drowning in Kailua. We also, sorry, one second. Some of the main events that happened in May, we had a total of 18 incidents. We had the adult male drowning, CPR in progress, fronting Kaumana Place or flagpoles. We had 1 multi-person assist at Green Walls fronting Kaiwan or Kaione Place, sorry. We had a 39-year-old male separated from a kayak stranded on Mokulua Islands. Recently, we had a Hobie cat with a broken sail, approximately 200 yards offshore with 2 people on the vessel, no injuries, and we assisted them back to the shore. We also had a 30-foot boat taking on water outside of the Mokuluas with 3 adults and 1 child. All persons were safe with no injuries. We also had a possible shark sighting at 8 Charlie, which is Kalama Beach Park. Turned out to be an extra large turtle. Pretty much anything that we do with ocean safety regarding the ocean, we do minor incidents such as cuts, scrapes, man o' war stings, ocean rescues. If you guys have any issues at the beach, you can come up to one of the towers or the lifeguard trucks. We have two in Kailua. You guys have any questions for us at the beach, we're more than happy to help you guys out anytime. Do you guys have any questions for me?
All right, mahalo. Questions for ocean safety? Gary Weller.
We're very supportive of you doing what you're doing, and I'm wondering if there's anything that you folks are lacking to maintain safety in the ocean here on the windward side, specifically in Kailua, that we could ask our council person to get a budget for you to get the additional things that you might need. And so if maybe by the next meeting, if there's any equipment or things that you recognize that this community needs, maybe the board could make a motion and try to get those items for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, just to address that, sir, we actually do have a building that's being built. I'm sure you guys have all seen it right across from the Kailua boat ramp. That's going to be our Kailua district operations. We're going to have one lieutenant and one rescue unit out of that building. There's also, I believe, rescue tubes at almost every public access. So if you guys ever see someone in trouble, there's a tube with a number on it. You guys, of course, would call 911. That would alert us, but get that tube to them safely. I will get back to you with materials and other stuff that we could possibly use, and I'll have it for the next meeting. Thank you.
All right, Jade Lau.
Tristan, Kailua still offers the junior lifeguard training. I know historically it's been at the boat ramp area. Is it true it's moving to a new location?
Yes, that is true. This year it will be held at Kalama Beach Park. We do have online signups, I believe, through Honolulu Ocean Safety. I will get the website for you guys by the next meeting, but yes, this year it will be at Kalama's, and I believe it's a 1-week course for the children.
What's the age for sign up?
I will get back to you on that age, but I know it's teenagers up to, I believe, 18 years old. I used to be one of the instructors over there. Yeah, it's a great program for the kids. We do train them in basic CPR, routine rescues, board and fins, or fins and tubes, sorry, and rescue boards. We have a lot of activities for them. We keep them active, run up and down the beach, different parts of rescues, how to public contact someone and keep yourself safe in situations. If you ever see someone in trouble at a beach where there is no lifeguard, you can use the steps that we as the instructors teach these children to save a life.
All right, other questions? Lavani Lipton.
Thank you for your service and to the ocean safety crew that takes care of our community. It's incredibly helpful to have these statistics. And so I am so grateful. I think so many of us go to the beach frequently and we have no idea about all the different things that take place unless we see a helicopter flying or, you know, we realize someone gets stranded. My question for you is, I wanted to know how they are measuring the number of visitors. How do you count that, this 123, 870? How do you count that per day or per month, I guess, in this case?
So every day we have different positions. I'm a lieutenant, so I work out of a mobile response truck. We have tower positions with tower personnel, and they have a daily log sheet that they fill out. It's basically, you know, you observe and kind of make a count. We have Kailua Boat Ramp Tower. We have the Beach 8 Tower, which is more towards the canal. We have Kalama's. We have a rescue unit, and we have myself. And we kind of oversee, as a lieutenant, we oversee the statistics. And, you know, you kind of get a head count of how many people are on the sand and in the water. It's not just an estimate or daily thing. We have an hourly rate that we have to fill out on our logs. So 8 a.m., as soon as we clock in, we do an observation, see how much people are on the beach, in the water, surfing, swimming. And it's all noted onto our daily log sheets, and that's in the entire Ocean Safety Department.
All right. Any other questions tonight online? Any? Okay, from the audience. Yes, sir.
Not exactly a safety issue, but do you track how often our beaches get shut down to wastewater overflows out of the park here and how many days that you have? I mean, it's not exactly a safety, but it is from a visitor perspective.
To my best knowledge, Honolulu Ocean Safety doesn't have the authority to close a beach due to water waste treatment being spilled into the ocean. I think the authority would come from a higher entity. I think HPD possibly might have the authority to enforce that. As lifeguards at the beach, yeah, we cannot prevent anyone from going into the water. We cannot stop them from, unless they're doing a violation. Then we notify HPD, EMS, HFD of what's going on, but we have no physical authority to be like, hey, you can't go in the water because there's a sewage spill. Unless there is sharks in the water where there's like a whale that washes up, we still don't have the authority to close the beach. We just have the right to advise everyone to stay out of the water. So to my best knowledge, I will get back to you on that. But what I know from working on this side, when there's a sewage spill, we just do our best to advise people that the water is not safe to swim in and hope for the best. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, well done. Mahalo.
Thank you, guys.
Our next item is board business, permitted interaction group to investigate the possibility of a landfill in Kailua final report. And there are peculiar rules on permitted interaction group closeouts under our sunshine laws. Last month, we received the report from the permitted interaction group. And upon receipt of the report, the PIG was disbanded, but we were unable to ask any questions, make any comments, receive any audience comments, or ultimately make any motion because everybody needed time, an opportunity to review the report. The report was posted on our meeting materials for the May meeting. It's posted on our meeting materials for the June meeting, together with an appendix to the report on both cases. And tonight is our opportunity to comment, discuss, debate, decide on anything coming out of the permitted interaction group's report on the possibility of a landfill in Kailua. As a representative of the permitted interaction group, Gary Weller, is there anything that you would like to add in way of introduction?
The team that did the PIG work did an excellent job. We worked on a lot of information from the EPA, the state of Hawaii, and even the city and county website of environmental services. We think we were very fair. Kailua, the windward side, has had 7 landfills in the past. I don't think that we really need another one. It's time for the city to explore other options such as more recycling. There are places on the mainland where they only end up putting the ash in the ground and none of the other trash. Honolulu could easily do that, my research shows. We definitely don't want the landfill anywhere near the marsh. And that's would be the proposed, one of the proposed sites on this side. The other sites are not as bad as having the landfill next to the marsh, but they're equally have things wrong with them. One is very close to Olamani Elementary School. Another one is almost near Waimanalo and Agland and et cetera. Our research showed that across the nation in Europe, landfills can't be close to residential areas within 2 miles, but yet our legislation here has lowered that distance to a half a mile. Why, I have no idea, but it's been a proven fact that living near a landfill is not healthy. So the PIG kind of concludes that Kailua doesn't want another landfill here. Thank you.
All right, so we've waited a month. Now we have the floor open for discussion on the PIG's final report. Is there any discussion? And I'll start with the audience first, and then online, and then board members. Any discussion on the permitted interaction group report? All right, online, any discussion? Okay, among board members, any discussion? Evan Weber.
Yeah, aloha. Just wanted to mahalo everyone who worked on the permanent interaction group, and also the folks on the board who decided to put it forward. It's been a fast-moving kind of thing to track since the county presented it and the state legislature passed new laws and all that. So it was a good, nimble vehicle to address the situation. I just wanted to bring in and share, for those who weren't aware or present, that community member Malia Espinada, I believe it was, or somebody asked the mayor and managing director Mike Formby directly about the possibility of a Kailua landfill at the Windward Town Hall at Castle High School a few weeks back, maybe about a month back. Some of us were there for it, but for those who weren't, I was very pleased to hear the mayor and Mike Formby directly say that they are highly, highly confident that Kailua landfill is off the table, and that Kailua has had its fair share of landfills, as is outlined in the permanent interaction group report. So I hope that we'll all hold them to that word as this process continues to unfold, and also work together as a community to seek long-term waste solutions, so no community has to suffer these continued landfill threats every 10 or 15 years. Mahalo.
Yeah, I'll add on to that. This was Mayor Blangiardi's Windward Town Hall in Kaneohe on May 8th. And specifically, he addressed the two quarry sites, one on either side of H3. And basically, he said that the city does not consider either of the quarry sites viable, essentially for two reasons. One, ongoing quarry operations for the foreseeable future, decades into the future, make them unavailable. And then additionally, the additional complications and requirements if you're going to use something like a quarry for a landfill, it's a more complicated process. So, the mayor's town hall is available on video, but that essentially was it. The two quarry sites in Kailua were not viewed as by the city as viable. Now there are two other Kailua sites that he was silent on, but the quarry had been the area that had seemed to be most in the target zone, and so that was good information provided by the mayor. Other discussion, Claudine Tomasa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I still have concerns because I would not know what's going to happen in the legislature if they passed any law that allows them to have a landfill close to where we live. And let's say we have a new mayor and it changes. So is there a way that we can take Kailua off of that list? just take us off of the list. Would that be the Land Utilization Committee that makes all of that decision? Do you know, Gary? Who makes the decision to put us on the list?
Esther Kiana, Councilmember Kiana, would you like to take a stab at that?
Thank you for that question, because that's top of mind for me as well. So let me just tell you, with regard to current list of proposed site, it is not on. However, I've committed that I was doing a white paper. It is completed. I'm vetting it with the Office of Consul Services for technical facts to make sure it's accurate. But the survey of all previous studies have various Kailua sites. So I believe that we are still vulnerable. And the reason, and Representative Lee can opine on it when he comes and gives his update. But the fact of the matter is, because several sites in Kailua have been on all previous sites as recent as 2024, should the legislature revisit Act 73, which they very well can, next legislative session, they could decrease the buffer zone and have no buffer zone or do it at a quarter mile. And if they do that, then all of the sites, it was 5 sites that were identified in the 2024 study. By the way, 5 of 6 sites. And I believe the reason the PIG was created, as well as why I wanted to do a white paper, is that we need to arm ourselves with all of the facts and histories of land tenure, landfill history on Oahu, the landfill history of the windward side, which is 11, by the way. The fact that the existing landfills, we have 3 on the island and 1 is in Kaneohe at Kaneohe Marine Corps Base. When you put everything into context, the reader and the public should better understand that the windward side has borne its share of contributing to the landfill. So again, we are not on any active list. The only list was Wahiawa. Because of the recent enactment into law at the legislature, it is now off the table. And so the mayor is in a quandary on what to do. It's likely going to have to stay at Waimanalo Gulch in the foreseeable future, but I believe that we're quite vulnerable.
Thank you. Other discussion on the report? David Laia.
Thanks, Bill. I am a member of the PIG. I don't want to dilute your concerns. There are alternative sites in Kailua that are under consideration. Olamana Boys Home area, the quarries, the 2 quarries that were mentioned earlier, as well as the Manawili area near Castle Junction. Those are all still on the list. And there was a committee that was formed, and the recommendations were various sites in Wahiawa area. But after a conversation with the Department of Health and the Board of Water Supply, they determined that those sites would not be considered. So it's still a very sensitive area for Kailua. And if they do change under the Act 73 to affect the buffer zones as was earlier mentioned, it will leave us vulnerable to having the dump sites located either by the Olamana schools or the Manawili district area. And so modifying Act 73 is not in our favor. So I just wanted to clarify those points.
I'm waiting for our turn.
Mark Holland, do you have a comment? I think you're muted.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay, so, I'm an environmental consultant. I've worked a long time on projects all over Oahu. I was the former ITEM coordinator for 25% of Oahu lands, including doing all the ESAs for Dole lands over 8,000 acres. The Waiwa project, including Kailua, is not suitable for landfills, period. Your watersheds need to be protected. They are vulnerable to issues. We've written the state reps, the city councilors, the mayor, the governor, and said, there's only 2 or 3 places, and the windward side is not suitable for this. And they all agreed with us. And so just so you know, there's behind the background what's not going on your side. There's been stuff going on the Waiwa side, but it's not suitable there either. So I just want to pass it on to you. Thank you.
All right, mahalo. Other discussion? Seeing no other discussion, mahalo to the PIG for the comprehensive report that they provided. I would entertain a motion for the neighborhood board to accept the report of the permitted interaction group on its investigation of possibility of a landfill in Kailua. Okay, motion from Gary Weller. Is there a second? Seconded by Steve Trecker. Is there any discussion on the motion? No discussion. We'll go with a roll call vote. Josiah Cow?
Yes.
Yes. Jennifer Barra? Yes. Travis Council? Yes. Jay Etzenbach? Jeff Klein? Yes. Kellyanne Kobayashi? Yes. David Laia? Yes. Jade Lau? Jade Lau? Levani Lipton? Yes. Kate Ryder? Yes. Claudine Tomasa? Yes. Steve Trecker?
Yes.
Yes. Evan Weber? Yes. Gary Weller? Yes. John White? Donna Wong? Jeff Zuckernick? Yes. Jade Lau? Yes. Chair votes yes. The report is unanimously accepted by the board, so we can document it as an accepted, approved report. And it puts us in a better footing should this issue come back based on any potential action from the legislature next year. Mahalo. All right, next item of business is a committee motion from the Transportation and Public Works Committee. The Kailua Neighborhood Board opposes Senate Bill 897 and requests that Governor Green veto the bill because Hawaiian Electric Company liability for wildfires should not be covered by automatic rate adjustments. And the background on the motion from the Transportation Committee is that's one of the provisions of the Senate bill. And there's concern about Hawaiian Electric being relieved of responsibility if there are automatic rate adjustments. Would any of the proponents of the bill wish to introduce it further? Jade Lau.
What pushed our movement for this committee motion was really that we felt automatic rate hikes should not be the first line of action to covering these losses. That Hawaiian Electric should be prepared, should have a line item, something within their budget, preparing, similar to how we all have to carry homeowners insurance, we all have to carry car insurance, because we know potential problems can happen. So as the owner of that, we need to be prepared. So for the committee, we felt that to say that your first line of defense in your wildfire mitigation loss is automatic rate hikes really doesn't show that HECO is taking responsibility and preparing for future issues. So that was the basis of this motion.
All right, the motion is on the floor for discussion and any audience comment as well. Evan Weber.
I first wanted to ask if Senator Kehokalole is online, because I know this is something that he worked on diligently throughout the last 2 legislative sessions, and if he wanted to provide any comment or context, if he's there.
He is not currently online.
Okay. I'll keep my comments brief then. I'm comfortable with this motion. I don't think this bill was necessary because the Public Utilities Commission already has the authority to kind of regulate some of this around HECO. And I think that the process by which this was kind of rammed through was very questionable. So I'll leave my comments to that.
Is there other discussion on the motion? Kellyanne Kobayashi.
I was just wondering if like the committee or if someone from the state legislature, I suppose, could explain a little bit more about like an alternative, like if we don't allow this mechanism for increasing the rates so that they can recover costs for mitigation, repair, and restoration, like, is there another way they can do that? I don't want us to like oppose something and then that's a reason why there isn't going to be mitigation, repair and restoration efforts.
Travis Council.
Just to add on to that, I think the key place we had, and I, to be honest, was not at this committee meeting, but looking at the notes, one of the key issues was the automatic rate adjustment. The HECO is already bound by a Public Utilities Commission and can most certainly seek a rate adjustment to cover losses associated with wildfire repair and mitigation. But this bill basically allows for there to be an automatic, aka not going through PUC, if there's a need for those rates to change. So I think that was more the conversation, or the objection was for there to maybe not be an automatic. Still doesn't close the option of a rate change, but it makes it where there has to be a little more discussion.
Levani Lipton.
Yeah, I'm confused. I read the article that Chair Hicks had sent out, and this issue was prompted because of an emergency that happened because of a fallen line, which was HECO's fault. And I don't agree with automatic rate adjustments, but in the article, it said there were all these upgrades and mitigation, and now the strategy is to be proactive. And it also said that a majority of the work was going to be done on Maui, which makes sense. But how else would that have been funded? I just feel like, in all of the city functions, there usually is some funding mechanism, like for sewer upgrades, for stormwater infrastructure. Sometimes it comes out of the general fund, and then, you don't have a consistent flow of money. But what worries me about this is that if it gets approved, then this could become the default, that every time there's an issue, oh, we'll just raise the rates. We'll just raise the rates. So, but I understand that obviously we need to do upgrades and improvements in our communities to keep us all safe. So it's a catch-22, but the mechanism and the thinking that the first line of defense is to go to the citizenry when we already have a lot of bills to pay, I'm uncomfortable with that. But I also don't want to not see improvements and, future fires happen because of antiquated infrastructure. So I wasn't clear from the article about what are the other sources of funding.
Gary Weller.
I've been quite outspoken about this because in my mind, any fire has to have two components. It has to have a match and it has to have fuel. In the case of the Lahaina fire, the three large landowners didn't take care of their property. They didn't follow the state law, which you heard me earlier announce what it is. They didn't clear their land. They're holding their land for future development to make billions of dollars. So in my particular thinking is that the wind blew, the wire fell off the pole. That's like in the old days, an act of God or nature. Then that cable dropped on the ground that wasn't maintained by the three landowners over there. So if anybody should be responsible, it's those landowners on Maui that never attended to their properties. And that's what allowed all the Lahaina to burn down, was all that fuel. If that spark had no place to go, it wouldn't have burned down Lahaina. So blaming Hawaiian Electric from the get-go just seems to me to be completely wrong. And it's just using them as an scapegoat because they know that if they raise the rates on Hawaiian Electric, that they'll come up with the money. They've already sold American Savings Bank to have reserve money to maybe pay off this $4 or $5 billion settlement, which should be the state or the county confiscating all that land, selling it off, or doing something with it to take care of the people in Lahaina. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Other discussion? Jennifer Barra.
I think that, as HECO, as a entity, they should be having a system of upgrading poles and power lines to make them wind resistant. Or at least be able to do that. And if you go around Oahu or on Maui, some of those poles do not look like they're going to really be able to survive any type of large wind event. And so it's paramount that they keep up their infrastructure. That's why we pay them money. That's part of what our money goes toward, is to upgrade the infrastructure. So, they should be doing that already, I guess. And as far as the landowners and the clearing of the brush, I've seen the city and the state and private landowners since Lahaina really take that to heart on Oahu. There are areas now that have been cleared out. And so the landowners are doing their part. People are understanding what can happen. And so I think that HECO needs to do its part and start using some of the money that they make, the revenues that they make, to upgrade our infrastructure.
Okay, other discussion? Jeff Suckernick.
Like Gary Weller, I think HECO's been wrongly accused, wrongly blamed for the Lahaina fire. I spent 10 years as a paramedic in Lahaina, and I've seen what the landowners didn't do to mitigate all the brush and weeds as a result of them just not taking care of their land. Yeah, okay, HECO does have some little responsibility in the lands coming down, but if the land was taken care of, we would not have had those fires. In addition, the mayor in 2018 was told in a report that they better mitigate the brush in that area or they can have a major fire. And guess what happened? They had a major fire. So the government was fully aware of the issues. The landowners fully aware of the issues. The fire department was fully aware of the issues, and nobody did anything about it. But we're blaming HECO for everything, and I think that's wrong.
Other discussion, Jade Lau.
As the committee member who pushed for this motion, I just want to clarify. This motion is not about pointing blame at anybody. This motion is purely saying we oppose to automatic rate hikes being the #1 choice for making up losses. So I want to be very crystal clear. This does not point any blame at anybody for anything other than to say, we as the Kailua Neighborhood Board do not feel automatic rate hikes should be your first choice for mitigating financial losses. Just wanted to make sure that was crystal clear to this board because we tend to deviate from topics at times. So thank you.
Other discussion. David Laya.
If I understand from reading the article and the proposal, in the article, it states that the primary driver of the cost is going to be to bury the telephone line or the electric lines underground in that Lahaina area. I think that's a really good thing for them to do. I was there the day before the fire and the winds were completely insane. And they'll be like that again. So to construct an electrical grid system above ground again with poles and wires just seems to be not the right solution. And the cost is being borne primarily on the Maui community. It seems the $5.41 increase per month is going to the residents of Maui. On Oahu, our cost is $1.05 a month increase for these type of preventative implementing and fixing these type of issues ahead of time. I kind of lean on the side of the earlier comment, which was there's already a system in place for the PUC to evaluate the costs and to determine whether the rate increases are reasonable and fair. And I'm not sure that this board should put forth a recommendation that we oppose this approach. So I'm not, I'm on the board, but I don't have the knowledge and expertise that the PUC has. I just know that things need to be done differently. And the sooner we can get stuff done in preparation of significant climate events, the better. So that's where I'm coming from.
All right, other discussion.
Just a quick question. Was there an alternative method to pay for these upgrades proposed?
One of the things that was discussed was their bill, correct me if I'm wrong and misunderstood, The PUC currently has the authority to redirect how to mitigate those funds. This particular method bubbled up to the top of the list in the bill that was being discussed and passed. And so again, the only thing we are saying is coming straight to the residents as your first line of defense is not the best course of action. There are other funds that should be looked at and tapped into prior to coming at the residents and the customers. I mean, that was the bulk of the discussion is, again, we are opposed to the ordering of where they want to get the money. The PUC currently has authority to direct. This was the list.
Levani Lipton.
But this passed both the House and the Senate.
Yes, it's up to the governor. Other discussion? Evan Weber.
Yeah, this has been a great discussion. Complicated issue. I just want to note that for additional context, I'm supportive of us making a statement on this, but I just want to note some context, which is that it's my understanding that the governor is in support of this bill, and I think lobbied pretty aggressively for it. So I'm not sure that I'm not sure what impact our statement is going to have. I do know there are a number of other important issues to the community that it seems like a lot of people are here for tonight. So I would move to a vote if we can.
Okay, other discussion? Representative Mike Lee.
It is a complex bill. I'm going to do my best to explain some of the basic parts of it. Representative Matayoshi and Senator Keokolole, who are in charge of the Senate and House Consumer Protection, can explain it a little bit better, but this bill changed multiple times. So to Jade's question about there's different ways that HECO's looking for it. In the end, it got changed 4 or 5 times, and even at the midnight hour at 2 in the morning, it got changed one last time. Really, the situation that we're facing with HECO is they're in trouble. Their credit rating got really bad. It got slashed, and as a result, when they borrow, their interest rates are going to be really high. It's not a perfect situation, but the reality is that at some point, someone has to pay for it. We don't want it to be local residents, but the first half of the bill is called securitization. Many other states that have had wildfires in the last 20 years have securitization methods, and unfortunately, they do pass them on to consumers. But what this has done, and even before they hiked their rates, once we passed the bill, their credit rating already went back up. So the fear on our end, and for a lot of us, and this is one that split even some of the windward legislators, the fear on our end is HECO may go bankrupt and a mainland company may buy it. If a mainland company buys it, they will give you reduced rates for a time. But at that point, we have a mainland company determining the future rates. And at some point, we believe that that will be higher than what HECO would do if it was owned locally. So this was a tough bill to vote on. It changed 4 or 5 or 6 times. And I want to give a lot of credit to Representative Matayoshi and our EVP chair for HECO wanted money originally to help pay for other things and loans, but I really appreciate that they're changing it to the fire mitigation, which is something that a lot of other states do. So I just wanted people to understand a little bit more. Jade.
Mike, so let me just clarify. So in the bill that actually passed, which was not exactly what we were reading at the time of our committee meeting, in that final bill that actually passed, are the residents the first line of defense, or was that moved down so other mitigation factors were taken into consideration first, and then eventually it comes down to the residents? Because if the residents are not the #1 item on the list for mitigation reduction, then this bill, then our motion is irrelevant. If we've already been moved down in the priority list of how you're going to get your money, then this motion isn't necessary, correct?
My understanding, Jade, is from HECO's perspective and the data that a lot of us were given, it was a matter of time, and HECO's only other option was to borrow at extremely high interest rates, which would eventually become higher rates for our consumers anyway. So it's a difficult one. Now, the part that many people in the House are concerned about is the liability cap. And that's something that Scott Matayoshi vehemently opposed. And what that does is it makes a cap for how much money will be paid out to help in the future if this happens again. The best the ledge could do in the timeframe we had was to give it to the PUC, but Governor Green retains the right to reject that. I'm not saying it's a perfect bill or it's going to go through, but something needed to happen, I think, from the whole body's perspective to make sure that we tried to keep our rates lower, and we felt like this overall was the best way. But I still agree with Senator Keokololi that in many ways it's a corporate bailout, but it is based on, it's a model based on what a lot of other states are doing, like California and Oregon, where this is something that has happened more and more in the last 20 years. So this was a tough one. So just wanted to add a little context.
Okay, mahalo. And yeah, at the time the committee considered it, the description that we had was allows electric cooperatives to recover wildfire mitigation, repair, and restoration costs through an automatic rate adjustment or other mechanism. Okay, other discussion. David Laya.
Thank you, Mike. I'm curious about the $4 billion settlement that was reached and how much of that $4 billion was actually can be used to pay for this. So.
The settlement was for fire survivors and their losses directly, because those are the parties that were suing. So $0. HECO actually had to pay about half of that $4 billion. So yeah, that they're not equivalent.
All right, other discussion. All right, I'd like to add to the discussion. And to do that, I need to turn the gavel over to Vice Chair Lipton.
Yes. Chair Hicks, you have the floor.
Mahalo. The front page article yesterday, the headline is Hawaiian Electric seeks okay for wildfire safety work. As a regulated utility, Hawaiian Electric has their hands tied all the time. They aren't allowed to do things on their own. They make a proposal, and then they can only do it if the Public Utility Commission agrees. And so it's easy to say, oh, Hawaiian Electric has all this liability, but the way it works with as a publicly regulated utility where they can't make decisions on their own, there's a shared component with the Public Utility Commission. So I took a look at what HECO had previously done prior to the wildfire on Maui. And there is docket number, I think it was 22, year 2022, 22-215, where HECO had a plan proposed for wildfire mitigation. Unfortunately, the Public Utility Commission website is not very transparent. I could see what's going on with currently active dockets, but I couldn't pull the string on what happened in 2022. Did the HECO request get approved? Did it get modified? Did the Public Utility Commission say, well, good idea, HECO, but we'd really rather you put some more money into alternative energy? We don't know. But I do know, just like the headline says, they have to seek approval. And I think that really puts it in a different context, a different situation where it's the interrelationship with the Public Utility Commission is so convoluted that putting direct responsibility on them is an oversimplification. And in the bottom line, it does come down to the ratepayer. When they want to do this project, that project, the other project on the Big Island, on Maui, on Oahu, with it is average rate hike, $1.90 a month on the Big Island, average rate hike $4.50 on Maui, average rate hike $2 on Oahu, or whatever it is, as was cited in the article. They have to get permission, and so I'm not comfortable supporting this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Hicks. I'll give the gavel back to you. Oh, I have to run it. Oh, point of order. Yes, Jade Lau.
I'd like to make a motion to rescind this motion in light of updated information and all of the new facts. This motion seems irrelevant at this time. So I'd like to make a motion to withdraw the motion.
Okay. Can I just get a point of clarification? If we withdraw the motion, does that supersede the original motion and then we take a vote?
Yeah, is it quicker to just vote on it then? Okay, then, can I call for a vote, Madam Chair?
Yes. So we are voting on the original motion, not the motion to withdraw. I'll reread the motion and then we will do a roll call vote. The Kailua Neighborhood Board opposes Senate Bill 897 and requests that Governor Green veto the bill because HECO liability for wildfires should not be covered by automatic rate adjustments. We're going to call for the vote. Neighborhood Assistant ready? Okay. Josiah Akau. How do you vote? Okay. He's gone. Jennifer Barra?
Yes.
Yes. Jennifer Barra votes yes. Travis Council? Travis Council votes no. Jay Etzenbach? He's not here. Jeff Klein, how do you vote? No. Kellyanne Kobayashi, how do you vote? Abstain. David Laeha, how do you vote? Yes. Jade Lau, how do you vote?
No.
No. Jade Lau votes no. Levani Lipton votes no. Kate Ryder. Abstain. Kate Ryder abstains. Claudine Tomasa. Abstains. Claudine Tomasa abstains. Steve Trekker.
Yes.
Steve Trekker votes yes. Evan Weber. Evan Weber votes aye. Gary Weller. Gary Weller abstains. John White. John White is not here. Is he online? Oh, Josiah. Donna Wong. Donna Wong is absent. Jeff Zuckernick, how do you vote? Abstain. And Chair Hicks, how do you vote? No. Go back to Josiah. Josiah, how do you vote? This is the original motion.
Abstain.
Abstain. Okay, the neighborhood assistant can double check. Yeah. 4 yeses. 6 abstains. 4 noes. 4 noes. Yeah, so the motion fails to pass. I'll now give the mic back to Chair Hicks to conduct the meeting. Thank you, everyone.
All right, mahalo. Next item of business are local agency reports, starting with the Board of Water Supply. Danny Ornelas. She was online, but is not responding. So we'll move on to Marine Corps Base, Hawaii. Christy. Okay.
Difficulty with my microphone. Good evening, Chair and Neighborhood Board. Are you folks able to hear me okay? No.
We hear you, Christy, but you're somewhat garbled.
Better? No, not yet. Oh, better? Okay, let me try one more thing. My location is rural. Is that an improvement?
Yes, that's better. Thank you.
Oh, that is wonderful because now I can't hear. But that's okay. We will get through this. Thank you. We have a few updates and some changes in command. For Major Fox, who has come multiple times to the Kailua neighborhood, is preparing to PCS to his next duty orders to Okinawa, and he wanted to share his aloha with you folks and just commend you all for the great work that you do. Aloha. Also tomorrow, our speaker, Pupoto, will be retiring, and we will be doing who is Aiden Moreno, and he also will be joining the commander for the 4th of July parade for the
We're only getting about 1/4 of what you're saying now, but we do acknowledge Major Fox's reassignment to Okinawa, and we appreciate Major Fox's support for the Kailua Neighborhood Board and involvement in the community, and we wish him well in his next assignment in Okinawa. Christy, if you're able to resolve the issue, we can come back to you later in the agenda. Okay. All right. Thank you. And did we ever get Danny Ornelas back? Okay. Next item of business are resident and community concerns. We'd ask that you limit comments to 3 minutes, please, and use the microphone.
Good evening, Chair. David Pound, Kalaheo Hillside. I'd like to call to the board's attention this evening, very serious issue for our neighbors up on Kalaheo Hillside. We've been talking about this for a long time, and I want to point out exactly what's going on the parcel up on Kalaheo Hillside. We've had a town meeting that our councilwoman did that for us. Thank you, Esther. We appreciate that. We've also inquired of DHHL and Geolabs, and unfortunately, we did not get a very satisfactory response from them. And what I want to point out is what Geolabs did up on the hill in about the last 20 days, where they stated to DPP that they were not going to do trail clearing, or what they were going to do would not be, and I'll quote directly from their notice, grubbing or grading work and limited to crude vegetation disturbance at all. So where Geolabs dug and where we have this right now is not based upon what Geolabs or DHHL provided, but only the diligence of the citizens around the Kalaheo Hillside who recorded this and started. So you can see this on the slide that you see there. Note that there are now almost a third to a half of a mile of graded trails that used to be bike and hike trails along the hillside. And what I want you to do especially is see this. These are the trails that have been grubbed and graded on the hillside. And I don't think they meet any close to an imagination of a crude clear. This is, you see it, it's 30 feet wide to 40 feet wide in some places. The vegetation has clearly been ripped out of the ground, which is a clear definition of grubbing. And then the grading that you see along the hillside there concerns us because of the nature that we brought to this board's attention, to the city council, about the Kokaki clay soils there and the lack of permeability and the runoff that occurs here. There were no SOCs for runoff applied to this until 9 days after this project was started, and only because of the community's concerns with this. So I'll point out again, I know that DPP has issued a notice of non-compliance. We've asked about that, and what we have been told is you have to have the number of the non-compliance. We don't have the number to ask what they were in non-compliance with, or what, if anything, DPP is doing to mitigate this, or Geolabs is doing to correct what we see up here on the hillside. And I know I've got a whole host of neighbors and friends along the hillside that do it, but I would ask for 3 things. I would ask that the board consider, through your planning, zoning, and the environment committee, to consider 3 things. 1, the Geolabs be called or requested to come here and tell us what they did. DPP, come tell us what you did and how you're fixing it. The next thing I would ask is for Geolabs and DHL to present and publicly release what is going on the hillside here, because this is of concern to all of our neighbors here. And then finally, that for RM Towel Corporation to do the same. Chair, I will answer any questions, and I'll turn it over to my neighbors to give you their perspectives. Thank you.
All right. There was a lot of discussion at our May 1st meeting on the scope of work for what Geolabs was going to do as part of the due diligence investigation of the hillside as part of the proposed land transfer. And the scope of work was put on our meeting materials drive. And these pictures, 25, 30 foot wide, graded graded dirt roads basically would seem to be far in excess of the scope of work that was presented and posted a month ago. So I would like to do 2 things. One, hereby add it to the agenda for Planning, Zoning, and Environment Committee's meeting the 3rd Tuesday of this month. Kalaheo Hillside status. And secondly, I would request DHHL DPP or Council Member Kiana through DPP try to give us the status on any notices of violation for work that has already happened. And, I think the community is owed that answer, and so we'll add it to our PZ&E agenda. Yeah. Gary Weller.
Couple of things. There is equipment out there. It's not that expensive. It can be rented from Allied Machinery or Bacon Universal. It's called the forestry machine, and it would have cleared the land 2 inches above the ground, and the vegetation would have been easy to bring back and hold the ground in place. But they decided not to use that. They used an excavator and just ripped all the grass and Kailua and everything right out of the ground, exposing the ground to erosion and any amount of rain that we might get as we approach hurricane season. So all the community has very valid reasons to be very concerned because the runoff will hit their property. To give you an example, a landscaper, if he's going to sod your front lawn, is required by law to completely surround your property with silk stocks to prevent any runoff of your property. They didn't do that for how many days, David? 9 days of doing excavation and work on the property. They did not follow the instructions of having erosion control. They still have not placed silk stockings on the 2 storm drains on Ileana Street. We're very concerned about this. And I don't know what else to do. So I'm hoping that Esther can come through with us and get us more information on the report. And it's actually a notice of non-compliance, which is a little different than a notice of violation. It meant that they were on the site doing something that was completely non-compliant with city and county law, which is way more effective than a notice of violation. Notice of violation might be that you put a microwave or a refrigerator or a sink in your recreation room in your house and somebody reported it to the city and then you're required to fix it. This is a much more serious violation that they received. I have been unable to obtain that violation. David tried, he was unable to obtain that violation. So we're depending on our councilwoman to get that for us so we can discover what they didn't do besides the erosion control. That's all I have to comment about.
Kellyanne Kobayashi.
I just wanted to talk about how we did discuss this a bit at the last PZ&E meeting, and I thought we made a step forward of what we were going to do, and I think Donna was going to reach out to the city and ask about, what are the precautions that will be taken to ensure stormwater runoff does not impact the downhill homes. And then from there, we were thinking we would hear back and maybe come up with next steps. So, we are already discussing this in PZ&E, and Donna's not here to talk about what she heard, but I just wanted to make sure that people knew we were trying to do something about it.
Yes, I'm aware of those discussions, and so we add to that the status of and appropriateness of and possible violations for what work has already happened. Okay, anything else? Other resident and community concerns? Yes, sir.
Thank you for being here. My name is Jim Hancock. This is my right there. When this all began 6 months ago or so, was it about, we all got together. Since that time, Two people in this district there have had their sewer lines excavated in the middle of the street, put back together again with stainless steel screen and plastic tape and buried 6 feet deep. Two different houses have had their front lawns excavated to put their water line back together in this same area. It's a mess. It's been a mess since 1960 when they first built it. They promised us they were going to take 4 test drills and six hole tests. They're going to drill a hole. Well, typically, if I think about a drill, it's a rotating thing that goes down and it samples a bunch of dirt and it comes out and they lay it out and they take tests of different areas. I was suspicious when they said they were all going to be 20 feet deep. How do you drill a 20-foot deep drill sample in terrain that is more than 20 feet higher and lower than avenue? It's not possible. What it is, it's 10-foot piece of 2-inch pipe gets hammered into the ground and they screw another one on top of that and beat that one in. They pull it out of the ground and blow the dirt out of it with a hose and look it over. Looks like dirt. Hole test. The test samples of digging into the hole, one of these samples happens to be 10 feet from my back fence. With a hoe, they dug a hole approximately the same size as the opening for whatever room that is there, 6 foot deep, maybe 8 feet wide, and scraped it out so the hole slopes up to the surface. The fellow that ran the hoe was an artist. I've never seen anybody that good with hydraulic equipment. He's wasting his time. He should be making art. When they dug the hole behind my house, the first foot was unconsolidated gravel, but the rest of it down looked like tofu. It was shiny brown. There wasn't the tiniest piece of gravel or anything in it. It was just like tofu. I asked the tech who was watching, who was uncomfortable that I was asking questions, but he said, "Have you ever seen anything like that?" And I said, "No." And then he went over and picked up some of the soil around it. Yeah, you could really grow good stuff in this. Not. They did a great job of putting all of the stuff back into the hole and in the sequence that they took it out. I was proud of them. Patted it all down and they were out of there in 30 minutes. 6 of those holes, it was a couple of Ziploc bags about this big that got scooped out. What did you find? Well, what were you looking for? I don't trust it anymore. This project doesn't make any. The terrain is so unpredictable and so unworkable that it'll have to be scraped off flat. Some holes 15 feet deep, ravines will have to be filled in. The tops of other places, I don't get it. If you look here, I knew that going to college was going to help me out here somewhere. These dark lines, the reason that's dark is because it's a valley and there's trees growing in there and the rain accumulates in them. Valley, valley, valley. This particular one is, from me to the flag, and it's at least 30 feet deep. So what are we going to do? Run the sewer line through the air, fill it all up with mud, scrape it flat? It can't be done. It can't be done. This is somebody spending somebody else's money. I don't get it. Please, I would like the opportunity to see just exactly what those test results and what they were looking for. Yep, we were looking for dirt and we found it. I don't get it. Thanks for your time. I hope I made the evening a little bit interesting.
Yeah, it seemed as though the tofu 10 feet behind your property would be of specific interest. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Karen Hansen and my house is right there. Right where the runoff is going to be when we have the heavy rain and the socks don't work. And though they do have socks up there now, the bikers come through and they either move them out of the way or they've destroyed most of the first ones that have been there. There's been no additional effort to put this area off limits, even though there is a sign that says no trespassing and violators will be prosecuted to the greatest extent of the law. That's been there forever and everybody ignores that, including me. I go hike up to the ridge, but I'm not destroying anything. In any case, so somebody needs to take care of that as well. I'm concerned about the lack of independence. So it's where the money is coming from is also the same people who are over watching. And so there's no independence whatsoever. There's no independent oversight. When a complaint was made from some of the residents, the answer that came back to us is GeoLabs has confirmed that they are complying. Okay, but the complaint was against GeoLabs. So doesn't somebody else need to confirm that GeoLabs is complying? Clearly they're not, or we would not be receiving these complaints or submitting these complaints. So I'd really like to see the board have some resolution or some request for an independent body. I trust Mike Lee back there, and Miss Esther, if she wants to go look at it herself, but there needs to be an independent body making sure that GeoLabs is doing what they're supposed to do, not doing what they're not supposed to do, and then also keeping up with these mitigation measures that are put in place.
Yeah, the way the sunshine law works, we can accept resident and community concerns, but we can't take action at the same meeting. So there's no motion, but by referring it to planning, zoning, and environment at their meeting on the third Tuesday, they dig deeper into the status and then they could create a motion, which would then come back here on July 3rd.
Thank you.
My name is Chris Evans. I'm also, my wife and I own a house on Colorado Hillside as well. And I'm just, I think we're all pretty pissed off about this. We recommended not for the city to give the land to Department of Hawaiian Homelands because we were afraid that this kind of stuff would happen. And I think we're afraid that it's going to continue to happen. They wrote GeoLabs, who was hired by Department of Hawaiian Homelands, wrote a letter to the Department of Planning and Permitting saying that they were going to just do simple trails to get to these sites. And as David said, no grubbing or land clearing like we're seeing, basically road building. And the only reason they have put up these soil protection socks is because a number of us complained to GeoLabs and then nothing happened. And then I called, and probably others as well, called Department of Permitting and Planning and Permitting. And then they got on it and went up there and found that they had written a letter saying that we don't need a permit because we're not going to do this, but they did this. And so we're very concerned that this is going to continue. And now that they have these roads, that when I went up there, I'm like, they're not going to stop now. They're just going to continue on. And so I think a lot of us are very, very concerned. The infrastructure's not there in that neighborhood to, build another 20, 30, 40 homes or apartments or whatever. And we've all expressed our concerns about the clay soils. I put in $200,000 into my property and it's still moving, but it's a lot better than it was. So it's just an ongoing problem. Nobody seems to believe us, or, I don't know if the soil samples are going to show that, but I think we're very concerned. So yes, it would be nice if you guys could do something, or at least Esther or somebody can follow up so that we get the information we want. I second what David Pound said. We would like to see those things done. Thank you.
Mahalo.
Chair,
Jade Lau.
I just want to make a note. The average city street is 32 feet wide. So these trails, some of them are larger than our average street.
Yeah.
It's a concern.
Yeah, or 18 feet in Lanikai.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair,
Claudine Tomasa.
Yes.
And real quick, the previous speaker, he is a geologist. So it's not just that we're residents. We also, many of us have professional training and know what we're talking about.
Claudine.
Is this going to be a problem when the rains come? Is it going to be a public safety issue that maybe we shouldn't have to wait for the next meeting? And maybe the chair can call DPP or something and have them do some enforcement and tell them to halt, cease and desist?
I'm going to ask Councilmember Kia Aina if there's anything that she might suggest doing in the interim.
In the interim, well, first of all, I appreciate the community coming here. And, you know, I will, first off, before I answer the question, I have to say that someone here handed me a flyer. And if you guys feel that I'm a bad council member, I would just appreciate that I have the courtesy of having this, and I'll send it to DPP as well. The fact of the matter is, David Powen and others, thank you so much for all of your emails. I'm doing my darndest to get answers, and as you can see, I'm not getting them as well. I did ask for the NOV. Because they just did it, it was not written up, but I can assure you I'm trying to get it. With regard to a site visit, I would have done it earlier. We just finished our budget hearings yesterday. It went to 9 o'clock. I have every intention of coming out. It is unacceptable. They have to have mitigation measures, especially if it rains. So I agree with you. Representative Lee and myself are dealing with an equally challenging project of Hawaiian Memorial. If you go to Kaneohe right now, the hillside looks like it's been shaved off. And DPP has told me that they are not in violation. They didn't need a permit, but they are actually taking extensive mitigation measures. So I'm actually going to follow up for all of you who have recommended it to do that. But I will have to say that I know that the board knows me. And I did have a community meeting. Even if someone put it on my Kailua, invited everybody to come and protest the project and protest me. So all I'm asking is, if you're going to be sending this, why don't you guys have the courtesy of at least letting me know about it? Because I sit here every month doing my best to represent the community, and you talk as if I'm not here. So I'm going to do my best. I can assure you that.
Well, the neighborhood board is well aware, Councilmember Kia Aina, that you are tenacious in getting to the root of things, and we deeply appreciate that. Steve Trecker.
Yeah, very quickly, I'd like to have a show of hands from people in the audience as to the people who are here on this particular issue specifically. Is there anybody in favor of the project out of all those people? Raise your hand. All right, thank you.
Hello, I'm Sharon Sadi. I am with the group concerned here. I'm a civil engineer. I work with what used to be called the Soil Conservation Service, now known as the Natural Resources Conservation Service. I did want to point out from my professional experience, there is a significant erosion concern, as was pointed out. I appreciate the comment about 30 feet being about the width of a street, but I have a particular concern about, as you go in, they were initially concerned about how are we going to get over to there? There's a big gulch right here. They managed to plow through it. My very quick calculations with my phone suggest it's at least a 12% slope, which is going up to about the ceiling height here in a relatively short distance. And right now it's bare soil. And when those rains hit, it will be coming down, turning the corner and heading for Karen's house. Those socks, It's more the erosion on the road itself that I'm concerned about. It's going to make a mess. And I hope you're able to get the folks in there to do some mitigation on it soon. Thank you very much.
Evan Weber.
Great. So yeah, mahalo, you all for coming out, and sorry that this has happened to you. A couple of the people who have spoken up brought up the word trust a couple of times, and I wanted to speak up as somebody who in previous meetings was shared that I was very excited about the idea of Hawaiian homelands existing in Kailua, whether it's at this site or somewhere else. I think it could bring a lot to our community. And I listened very, intently and respectfully to the neighbors of this property about some of the issues. And it was pretty clear to me that one of the biggest issues, potential issues, was runoff due to the nature of the soil at this site. And so, to see something like this happen so quickly, so early in the process, as somebody who wants DHHL to succeed in finding a place for Hawaiian homelands in Kailua, it's frankly quite embarrassing. And I don't know, if this site ends up not being suitable, which, they're not really setting themselves up for that with this right now. How are you going to go to the next community and convince them that DHHL is going to be respectful of the community, that they're going to hire contractors who are going to do a proper job, we're not going to mislead the community, and pay attention to obvious concerns? So as somebody who is a supporter of DHHL and has relationships with them, I'll definitely be reaching out to express my concerns. And I, to Claudine's point, I encourage everyone to do that and make them know that this is important for their success, whether you're supportive of this project or not. So, just wanted to say that.
Okay, comment from Levani Lipton, and we're going to need to move on with our agenda, but Levani Lipton.
Thank you, Chair. I just had a visual when there is runoff from Olomona Heights, which is a much farther away development site. When there are big storms, it turns Ka'elepulu Pond completely brown, chocolate brown. The distance from your community to Kawainui Stream is much shorter. And so from a water quality standpoint, I have serious concerns. Ironically, in our meeting this month, we're talking about the NPDES permit, which is the National Pollutant Discharge Permit that's comes from the EPA, but it's managed by DOH. And it's something that the city has to abide by. And also in July, there is a Stormwater Best Management Practices Conference. So city dedicates 2 days to talking about best management practices. This is an example of what not to do. So we would like to bring this up in our water quality committee just to talk about it from that standpoint and see if we can offer support to not just, it's not violations, it's the fines. It's the heavy, significant fines, I think, that matter. So yeah, I'm very, very concerned about that waterway. Paddlers are practicing in that all the time, and also what it will cause to the homes in terms of shifting of the soils and things like that. So if it's okay, we'll talk about it.
To add this to your agenda for next Thursday?
Is it possible to add it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Added. Gary Weller.
Speaking to what Levani just said, there's not one, there's not two, there's 4 storm drains that come off that property. And they go directly, uninterrupted, straight to the canal. So any of the erosion that happens on that property, if we have a storm and comes over the silt barriers and goes into the street, is going right into the canal and right out to the ocean. And if that occurs, that could be a Clean Water Act violation. And once again, cost us taxpayers hundreds of thousands, if not $1 million. So there's more to these issues than most people understand anymore, because in the old days, people just dump things in the ocean. I'm from New York City. They dump garbage every single day into the ocean, millions and millions of tons, and they're not allowed to do that anymore. So this is the same situation. We don't want all that dirt in the bay. We've been fighting on the Water Quality Committee to stop all the runoff from the streams and from the sewage treatment plant and other sources into our bay. This will be just another example of all that soil moving towards the bay. Thank you.
Okay, we've got a full agenda yet to go tonight. So, and there are going to be opportunities to talk Kalaheo Hillside, both at Water Quality next Thursday and Planning, Zoning, and Environment on the third Tuesday. So I would just request that if anyone else wishes to speak about Kalaheo Hillside, it'll be to present something of importance that hasn't already been presented, please.
Thank you. I'll be quick. The old saying, adding insult to injury, definitely applies. Injury began in the late 1950s when Kalaheo Hillside construction began, despite the 1952 government soil study revealing the clay soil in the area was unsuitable for building. For 65 years, the injury has continued to homes as the clay moves seasonally, expanding when wet and cracking when dry. Kaneohe Ranch sold the land leases to homeowners at a great discount in the early 1980s to avoid liability about the land. The proposed Department of Hawaiian Homelands project on city land above the present homes is the insult. Disturbing the soil now in any way will cause it to creep down slope, causing more damage to the present new homes, and the new homes could also suffer damage in the future. We did property damage surveys also, and you'll be amazed at what the homeowners have gone through with their houses. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Leatrice and I live on Ka'avakea Road and I'm part of, I guess, the area where they're going to be doing the Complete Streets project. And I live on the portion that extends from Ka'avakea Road from Papalani to Pauku Street. I live 3 houses from Pauku Street. Pauku is this way, Ka'avakea is this way. Anyway, I've noticed that they're starting to paint numbers and I tried to research. I did call the transportation company to find out what's going on and I haven't gotten a complete answer yet, but I think they're going to try to put a speed bump 3 houses from Pauku Street. So Ka'avakea ends at Pauku Street. And so I'm the 3rd house and the proposed, I think it's a proposed speed bump, which there's another 8 or 10 houses to Papalani, is right directly at the end of my driveway, so that if I back out, I'll go over that speed bump, or if I back out this way, I'll go over that speed bump. And I just wanted to know, I know I talked to Bill Hicks beforehand. I don't know what the logic is. People, it's a very quiet street. I don't think we need a speed bump, first of all, because literally there's a car every maybe hour or maybe 2 hours. Mostly it's just local traffic. And so I don't understand why there's a speed bump 3 houses from where the street, there's a stop sign at Pauku Street. Why there's this going to be a possible speed bump there when there's another 8 houses to Papalani? It doesn't make sense to put it right there. And I'm hoping that Steve, you said somebody's online, possibly Renee Espial, possibly that can talk to this matter. No, she's not online right now.
Not currently online.
Okay, well, if I can open it up to whoever knows about the. Oh, hi.
In person.
You want to come up? I know public speaking is not my favorite thing in the. Okay, I'll talk to you afterwards. Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, so you'll talk directly with Renee and keep me updated. Thank you. Are there any other resident and community concerns this evening? Online? Yes, sir.
Chris Evans again. I'm not exactly sure. My question is regarding the sewer outfall in Kailua. And the way I read it online was that they're planning on putting a sewer outfall into Kaneohe Bay. I just wanted to be sure that that is not the case, because that would be really, really stupid. Sorry. But I am a marine biologist. I worked in Kaneohe Bay for years. And so I just want to kind of come back to that and just check on that.
There is a common outfall which goes from the Kailua wastewater treatment plant and also receives input from the Marine Corps Base Hawaii wastewater treatment plant. There was some suggestion at last month's meeting that as Marine Corps Base Hawaii upgrades their wastewater treatment plant, there was a question of could it be routed elsewhere, and I think it was a question / suggestion from the audience. My understanding, I'm not aware of any plan to make any change to the current arrangement.
Okay, just that is a big concern that we don't do that again, put in sewer outfalls into Kaneohe Bay.
All right, thank you, sir. Any other resident or community concerns?
Good evening. I'm going to speak on my typical complaint that I have, and since I see DTS is in attendance tonight, the Kalapawai project continues. At this point, it is more at risk of sea level rise than it is of completion. At about a year ago, we were I guess it was November, we were promised that the project would be completed by summer. I'm also going to point out it is now June, and we're still probably about 3 months, I assume, away from completion. I would also like to point out that the sidewalk around the center of the circle is now complete, which is good, even though there's no access to that sidewalk by any pedestrians. On Kalaheo, leading into the circle, it is about a 10-foot wide section of roadway, which is bounded by curbs on either side. So it'll be difficult for residents to either make left or right turns on Kalaheo. So that is a bit of a design oversight, which at this point, I guess I kind of missed that mark. But I'm just wondering, at what point will we actually see completion? Thank you.
All right. DTS, is there a one-sentence answer to that?
Good evening, Chair and Board. Kelly Akasaki, Transportation Engineering Division with DTS. We are currently in Phase 9. The contractor has to finish Phase 9 by July 4th. That is their promise to us, and that is what we're promising to community. After that, there is a small section, which we are calling 2A, which is right in front of Island Snow, that still has asphalt sidewalks. That is our last section. And that is our last section will be about 2 months. So we're still looking at, he was correct, 3 months out. I mean, that's where we are. I know we said summer, but that is our last section after we finish Phase 9. The sidewalk area in the middle of the island is not a sidewalk. It's an apron for larger vehicles such as buses or fire trucks that need to go on top of the roundabout just to get around the smaller, tighter roundabout that we have designed for regular standard trucks and cars.
All right, perfect. Mahalo, Kelly.
Thank you.
Any other resident community concerns? Anything online? Okay, we'll move on to the next agenda item, Mayor and Governor reports. We have Jim Ireland or Shane Enright. Jim Ireland. Okay, we'll come back to Jim Ireland if he's available. Aaron Connor.
Hello, good evening. Erin Connor here on behalf of Governor Josh Green. Very brief tonight as it's already a long meeting. I have governor's newsletter provided for you at the table here as well as sent to Chair Hicks. Earlier this week, there was one question from last week, Mr. Gary Weller, that site at Kapa'a Quarry is not state land. It belongs to Kapa'a Quarry LLC. So the tax map key shows they are the landowners of that site.
Gary Weller.
I'm going to send you a new map that shows it's state land.
A new tax map key?
Yeah. You'll get it tomorrow.
Okay,
Thanks.
no problem.
Okay, anything else, Aaron? Anything else, Aaron?
No, but I think Jeff has a question.
Jeff Suckernick.
Can you reach out to the highway people and have them clean all the mold off of all the signs that are on each three? You go from the Marine Corps base all the way into town, you'll see that many of the signs are so disfigured that it's actually a safety hazard for people. We complained about this 3 years ago and 4 years ago, and I was taken care of, but like most things that happen in the state, it does not include maintenance.
Sure.
All right. Any questions for Aaron tonight? Any questions online? Okay, mahalo.
Thank you.
Jim Ireland, do we have you available?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
We hear you.
Okay, great. Sorry, I'm having command and control problems here. My video's screwed up. So I took a lot of notes on Kalaheo Hillside. I'll talk with DPP tomorrow, work with everybody else here with that, and Councilmember Kia Aina as well. Just a couple follow-ups on some old business that I had. The DEM's new Honolulu alerts will include the bacterial counts when they exceed certain thresholds from the DOH. There was a question on 330 Hu'ulei Street, how much longer they'd be, I guess, building and using the parking. And DPP was asked about that, and I guess the contractor did not provide a schedule, so that's not sure about that one. I think DTS is here today to discuss the roundabout. I realize we just talked about that a little bit, but I'll defer to Deputy John Nauchi if they have more on that. There was also a request to do some gutter sweeping, but the street sweeping equipment apparently the city uses is unable to clear leaves and debris from the gutter drainage catchment basins. So they're going to address this issue by doing it manually following the street sweeping. And then just a bit of new business, a big mahalo to Councilmember Kia Aina for her assistance with what we call a council ad to fund a Monowilly ambulance in this year's budget that starts in July, basically next month. We are in discussion with the state to sublet part of the HPU campus for placement of that ambulance. It will primarily serve Kaneohe, Kailua, and Waimanalo as a backup ambulance, and then primarily serve the area around HPU, which is Monowilly and parts of Kaneohe. So we're very excited about that. I expect it to be in service sometime between January and June of 2026, but it is funded in this budget. And again, a big mahalo to Councilmember Kia Aina. So I'll just defer to her if she wants to say anything more about that. And also John Nauchi about the roundabout, unless there's any questions.
All right, mahalo. Any questions tonight for Jim Ireland? Online? Any audience questions? Okay, mahalo, Jim. We move on to elected official reports, starting with Senator Jarrett Keohokalole. Senator Chris Lee. Councilmember Esther Kiana.
Aloha and good evening. I wanted to thank the Permitted Interaction Group for the PIG because any information is going to be helpful because I still believe we need to be prepared for a potential landfill site on the windward side. Thank you, Dr. Ireland, on updating with regard to the Maunawili Ambulance Station substation. It was $700,000. Our budget just passed last night. We are not anticipating any problems with the mayor signing it. Other noteworthy items, of course, I know everybody is deeply concerned about the status of the Kailua wastewater treatment plant. I've already reported that with regard to long-term improvements, since I've been in office, over 100 million has already been appropriated, but just for this year, because there's two systems, the solids handling system, we have 37.3 million in the budget for that, as well as the treatment plant itself, 24 million. With regard to the UV system, that is to address the bacteria exceedance levels. I understand that it is on track and we hope to get it done, and the city hopes to get it done by the ending of the year. If people recall, most recently, while they were implementing a short-term remedy, I forgot it, I know you're an expert on alcohol, so maybe it's a chemical system to deal with it in the short run, and we still had an exceedance level. It had nothing to do with the treatment. There was a malfunction at the treatment plant. Since that time, there has not been any exceedance levels, and I'm hoping that until the longer-term system is in place, that that we don't have that anymore. Other notable items, the ocean safety had talked about the new headquarters that is going to be across the Kailua Beach Park. We are that is actually to service the whole area, but we are actually also going to have a substation for ocean safety on top of that by Kailua Beach, and that was included in the budget for $1.4 million. I heard everything that everyone from Kalaheo Hillside said tonight, and I know that you're not pleased. How can I be pleased as well, right? And I know people are going to say, well, you're the one who advocated for it. What I can do now, and for people who are not aware, the land has not transferred to the Department of Hawaiian Homelands, and it cannot be transferred because due diligence has to be undertaken, not just by the Department of Hawaiian Homelands, but by the city itself. But I will say that at a community meeting that I had, there were a lot of people who talked about excessive speeding on Ileana Street. So we have put in a request to the Department of Transportation Services, who has some leadership here. And when I asked where, they actually said, if you can go and assess the whole street. And there was actually an individual who I said that sometimes speed bumps are not popular, and she volunteered that the speed bump can be at her home. And for Ka'elipulu, the stormwater management, I will be in contact with you, Leilani, because I have been in contact with DFM. We are going to have a series of follow-ups from the last meeting. The next meeting will likely be in October at Kailua Intermediate. And what they're going to do is not only talk about the other alternatives that we talked about, but we're also going to be, they're still going to be soliciting new comments from the community. And I think that's all I have for now. If anyone has any questions, I'm here. If you're not aware, I did vote against the sewer rate adjustments yesterday. The vote was 5-4, very difficult. I do believe that we have to comply with the 2010 consent decree. My problem is that I did not like that they had spread it out over 10 years and it was quite significant. Over 10 years, it could be as much as 100% increase. What I would have preferred was a 5-year rate. That didn't get voted on. What got voted on yesterday was a 6-year rate to begin in July 1st, 2026. Chair Waters, myself and others tried to look at innovative ways to not pass the rate increases to the taxpayer. And while we were not successful, we needed to pass something because our bond rating was at stake with regard to the improvements for the Sand Island wastewater treatment plant. But anyway, that's my report. Sorry for taking so long.
Mahalo. Questions for Esther Kiana, Steve Trecker?
Do you know what the total amount that has been spent on the roundabout at Kalapawai up to now so
No,
far?
I would not have that, but I believe that DTS will have that. I don't know if you want to wait till they come up to update on the Lanikai Transportation Management Plan.
Thank you.
Yes, I do not have that figure.
Any other questions? David Lea?
I'm noticing that right outside of Monowilly, where the light is and you have to turn left or turn right to leave Monowilly, that there seems to be a road that's being developed there. It's a dirt carve-out road that
Is it right off of Kalanianoli Highway?
it is, as you leave Monowilly, you can turn right to go to Kailua or left to go in the
Yeah.
town. But it looks like something's going on a street, or some kind of a road is being built that goes into Kainui Marsh. And so I don't know of any plans to build a road there, but I see the makings of a road.
You know, I do know that the Board of Water Supply had a project there. Irene Lemos is online, my staff, she's taking notes. We will find out what that is all about.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
David, if we could get a picture and an email follow up on that. Thank you.
And
Other questions?
just lastly, I wanted to say for anyone who flies model planes off of Kapa'a Quarry Road, they hit a bump about 2 weeks ago because HECO put up some new lines and it's impacting their ability to fly across the road. The good news is that on visiting the site, we realized that the airfield does not fully extend to the parameters of the actual park. And so we are going to move forward to not only extend the runway so they don't have to fly across of Kapa'a Quarry Road, but we are going to level off the playing field as well because it's a little bumpy. I'm so shocked they never complained before. So what it's doing is it's ruining a lot of planes. And so a lot of people who have expensive planes don't even go there. We do have the support of the DPR director as well as the managing director. So I'm confident that we're going to be able to resolve that. And that airfield services all hobbyists on Oahu, not just the windward side.
Okay. Thank you. Steve Trecker.
Just quickly, I just found out from Department of Transportation that the amount that's been spent on the Kalapawai roundabout so far is $10 million. That's taxpayer money coming from all of us.
Yeah, the original was 8 million, of which 7 million was for drainage.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions? Mahalo. Representative Lisa Martin.
Aloha, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So it's been graduation season. So I've gone to a lot of graduations. And at the Kailua High School graduation, I was really pleased to meet or to see Jill LeBoy, who is going to be our new principal at Kailua High School. We unfortunately had our principal leave Kailua High School recently, unexpectedly. And we've had a fair amount of changeover there. And that lack of stability is really hard on the teachers, the faculty, and students. So Jill LeBoy was previously the principal at Kailua Intermediate School, and before that at Manawili. So she not only knows the community, but she actually knows those students personally. She left to finish her PhD, and when she completes it in July, she'll take up that job. So I was really pleased to. Another piece of good news before I get to the bad news is that one of our Kailua residents, Tom Griego, was recognized as part of the celebration of Invasive Species Month, which is this month, for his work every single time, every 6 weeks over a year, helping treat for little fire ants in Lanikai. So he was selected for that and honored at the Capitol. Given my committee assignment, which is Human Services and Homelessness, I've been doing a lot of visits. We, by far the largest money bill out of my committee this year was to fund our homeless shelters and kauhale in many different forms. Basically anything that provides the homeless with both housing and wraparound services. So I visited 5 different kauhale with different types of services to see how our money's being spent, which gives me, in part, I was very impressed with some of the services. They are doing very innovative and good things. And it also gave me ideas for how we can further improve. Another thing that I'm working on as part of my chairmanship is looking into how we're going to respond to the big, beautiful new bill proposed by the federal government when something does pass. It's going to have a profound impact on Medicaid and on SNAP. And we had set aside money for that. We set aside $200 million. And unfortunately, the economic forecast, which just came out the end of May, was not very good. And so that $200 million just disappeared. Basically, it just, went away. So we didn't end up really putting away any money because the expected income, the revenue, we were wrong, right? So the nationwide, we're having an economic downturn. And when that happens, it hits tourism very hard. We're expecting about $4 billion less in visitor spending over the next 2 years, losing a lot of market share from Canada and other places that are possibly a bit turned off by the US right now. And so that will actually be a bigger impact economically than the Maui wildfires, just to give you the scope. In addition, probably about 2,300 lost federal civilian jobs. And so anyways, we are in for it. And with SNAP, for example, which is food stamps, the federal government is proposing that the state pay a larger share of the administrative costs, as well as start to pay part of the actual benefit, which is not something we've done in the past. In addition, they're asking for different requirements for eligibility that will make it harder for people to qualify. And one of the requirements will be working. And that would apply currently. People that have dependents at home, children, are not required to work. And now if you have any kids that are not, if you don't have kids under 7, you will be required to work. So no more stay-home moms getting SNAP. So anyways, there's a lot of things that we're looking at, trying to beef up our work training to get people so they can keep their SNAP benefits, keep their Medicaid benefits, which is also imposing more stringent work requirements. And even housing benefits, federal housing benefits are now for our public housing are going to have more stringent work benefits. So there's a lot going on. And, I think it's going to have a really big impact on our state, what's going on at the federal level. And that's it. Sorry for the depressing news.
Okay, mahalo. Any questions for Representative Martin? Steve Tracker.
Real quick, this relates to HB 1099 and the appropriation, emergency appropriation of $5.5 to pay a penalty for a payment error rate. It's a penalty assessed by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. The state owes this money because of payment errors. What are those errors? Is it just
Okay, so you're
people that-
talking about SNAP. And so, yes, we were fine. The errors,
I'm sorry, we're going to have to
you know what,
handle
Steve,
the,
I can explain that
Q&A
offline.
offline.
If you want to email me, it's pretty technical. The good news is we were only had to pay half the fine, so it was 5 million, and we are able to invest that in our new software system, which will help reduce the error rate. And if that is successful, we do not have to pay the other half. But I'm happy to share with you what the error rate is afterwards, and it's more understandable than it sounds.
Thank you.
Okay, mahalo. Representative Scott Matioshi. Representative Mike Lee. All right, well, earlier. We have a new representative for Representative Jill Takuda. Okay, they're offline also. Okay, thank you. Next item is reports from members who attended other meetings. Hearing none. Presentations, we have 3 presentations tonight. Let me just ask a question on the third one. SMA major permit application for 430 Delta North Kalaheo Avenue. Is there anyone in the audience or online that requests to see this presentation? This is an encore presentation. We had to offer it because not every neighbor had been notified earlier. Is there anyone online? Anybody here? Okay, we will dispense with that presentation. So we're at 2 presentations, the final Anakai Transportation Management Plan, and then we have an update from OHA Chief Executive Stacy Ferreira. So, Lanakai.
Aloha Chair, Board, and the many people who have come out and worked with us in the past as we've approached the very difficult problems that we've had in Lanikai over the last number of years. I'm going to ask that our person who is on the Zoom please share the presentation at this time. But before we start, I kind of want to start by offering a line from one of my favorite Henry Kapono songs and start off with, "It's so nice to see familiar faces out in the crowd." We have worked with you over the last 3 years, and I just want to be kind of a little bit reminiscent about this. Started with Councilmember Kia Aina on the lanai of a constituent's home in Lanikai, where this whole idea of putting together a plan came together, and that's the genesis of that. And the reason why that's important is when we looked at that, we knew that synthesizing a plan from a very complicated problem and understanding that we wanted to put the community first, but the community has a lot of love from everybody outside of the community. And we knew that that was automatically almost an equation for discord or for not getting along. But when it comes down to that, I think we wanted to spend a lot of time listening to the residents first, listening to the community, and then listening to the people that love this place with the Mokulua Islands and the very scenic Lanikai Ka'uaha coastline. So with that, we really did hear. And one of the things that we're really proud of the community to say was that Lanikai welcomes visitors. And although the congestion is terrible and access is limited, we heard the cry for help. And we knew that once we convened the meetings that we had, we were going to hear a lot of things. And we were very certain of only one thing, that nobody would 100% agree on anything. So at this time, we wanted to get into some of the things that we discussed previously, and then get into some of the solutions and recommendations that we have forth with this Lanikai Transportation Management Plan. So I'm sorry, I neglected to introduce myself. I'm John Nouchi. I'm the Deputy Director of the Department of Transportation Services for the City and County of Honolulu. I have two members of my team here. One is Renee SBO. You're very familiar with her from the many Complete Streets workshops that happen in Kailua. But I want to bring up Kelly Akasaki, who is our Chief Transportation Engineer. Really the smart people. Some of the smart, Renee and Kelly are some of the smart people that took the input that we heard from everyone and synthesized this into this report.
Next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so we had two meetings last year with the Lanikai Association. We had one in March where we kind of presented the idea, wanted to hear their feedback. We did have a draft where we put up some of these things, expanding public transportation, private transportation options, shared mobility, parking issues, restricting parking issues, off-street parking issues, and also destination access management. We let the plan go out online for comment until the end of April, and we did a follow-up meeting after that, December of 24, where we shared what the outreach was, what their reactions were, and now we're ready to present the final to the whole Kailua community. Next slide, please. So we did receive 188 public comments, and this was again between March and April 30th of last year. A lot of them agreed with what was proposed by the Lanikai Association, support for no parking, support for smaller frequent electric bus services, and also for bike and pedestrian improvements. Next slide, please. So this kind of shows how we would do the no parking. Do we want no parking only in the loop, the whole area, 10 to 4? Do we want RPZs, which is residential parking zones, where the residents would pay for parking passes to park in front of your area? Or do we want metered parking? So all of these options were presented in that plan, as I said, from March all the way to December. Next slide, please. So what are we going to propose? And this came as a consensus from our December meeting with the community again. Next slide, please. We are proposing no parking for the whole loop. So all the way in around Mokulua and Alapapa will be no parking anytime. And what we explained to them is because there's unimproved sidewalks and the roadway width itself is not wide enough to have legal parking stalls on pavement, the whole loop will be no parking, which is what it should be, as no parking on unimproved sidewalk areas now. And in addition to that, next slide, please. So what we are proposing are all the connector streets that run Mauka Makai, which have wider widths. They will become one-way streets. They're all about 18 feet wide. They come one-way streets, and we provide legal parking on the pavement. We designate the parking areas so it's clear. There is one street already like this. Oh shoot. Kailua is already signed and marked like this. All the other streets will be similar. So we've already measured all the streets out there. There are a few streets closer down to the end of it that do not meet the 18 feet width. So we will need to add pavement to make sure that it's all 18 feet so that they can legally park on the pavement. And then we have the one-way alternating streets, one way up, one way down, one way up, one way down. The good thing about it, it's a loop. So if you miss one, you just go to the next one. And in addition to that, the residents want the 10 to 4 parking restriction. So that's what we're proposing. We're proposing to give legal parking on the pavement marked as parking and no parking from 10 to 4. Okay. Next slide. We are also looking to seek funding to install pavement along the loop, fronting the beach access areas just for loading and unloading. Next slide, please. So there are 5 locations by the beach accesses that we are looking to designate as loading and unloading. So you can only pull over, drop off your stuff, and find parking on the connector streets. So there's 5 locations. These are the first 2 for the 5 first beach accesses along that side of the loop. Next slide, please. This is the third location out of the 5. Oh, sure, I'm sure. So the first slide, I'm sorry, the first street was Kaelipulu Drive. The second street was Mokumanu. This street here is Kualima Drive. And then the last 2 are on Paleolena and Haukea Drive, I'm sorry. Those are the 5 beach accesses that we want to propose loading and unloading areas so that people can come and drop off their stuff and then find legal parking on the side streets. Next slide, please. We also want to promote bus activity. We want to promote rather more frequent buses to the 671. Right now it comes about every 40 minutes, makes the loop. We can propose other things to bring people to the area since parking will be restricted and they would have to park somewhere in the town area and then catch up, either ride a bike or catch a bus or get dropped off into the loop. Next slide, please. In addition to this, we want to try and see if we can have space near the beach accesses where we can put up bike racks for the residents and for people to lock up their bikes near the beach access areas. Even explore the possibility of bringing bike share back to Kailua, if that's an option. You guys have wonderful bike shops that rent to all the tourists now. So you have a lot of businesses already that cater bicycles in the area. But these are some of the options that we looked at and we are proposing in the plan. Next slide, please. Then we're looking at encouraging Transportation Management Association to help access. So this kind of came up from the community itself. Lanikai Association, if they're willing to come up with their own management association to help determine the parking, whether the access, whether the rates, if they want to charge for parking. This is something that we are considering. We would encourage and we would work with the community to get this forward as well. It's not guaranteed. It's just something that we would agree to work with them on. Next slide, please. So this is the plan here. It is on our website already. It's the Lanikai Transportation Management Plan, and you can use the QR code to get straight to the site and see the plan for yourself as well. That's all I have.
All right, mahalo. This is on the Transportation Committee agenda for next Thursday at an earlier than normal time, 7:15. We have a limited amount of time for questions and answers. Are there any questions?
So we can work on the signage for the loop to get it to our facility maintenance. They have to fabricate the signs and they can install it maybe within the next 6 months. The other options require funding to add more pavement so that we can continue with striping and signage for the parking areas, as well as the loading and unloading areas. So we need to acquire funding for those things to get into place. Yes. Yes. We can hold off the no parking until the funding is available and do it all at one time. But I think some residents have requested that the no parking for the loop go in already. Yeah. Sure. We can hold off and work with the community, but that is the fastest we can get the loop signs in, only because that can be done in-house.
Okay, we'll take one more community question. Go ahead, Mike.
I'm Mike Rosa. I'm the chair of the Lanikai Traffic Committee for about 15 years. I want to thank you very much for your presentation. And I also, on behalf of the community, want to thank you. Big mahalo. You heard us. And we really appreciate that. You heard us. That is a big deal. Thank you. A couple of comments. One, we believe as a community, and we've said this, and I was so happy to see that on your slides, this will draw a nice balance between accommodating visitors and
reducing the disruption in our community. Nothing's ever going to be perfect, but we're getting there. And the fact that we're all trying to work together is a real big step. And again, we appreciate that. We hope that you'll continue the special enforcement district until you can get your permits and your construction and all of that. That 3-day no parking has been a savior. If anybody's been there, you know how important that is. To see it extended 10 to 4 throughout the year will be a tremendous improvement. And believe me, the keiki on bikes will thank you very, very much. One of the other things I would like you to consider, and I know we're going to have time to talk about this, and that is to consider the hillsides for the no parking. What has happened is, and it's obvious in not only our community, but Kailua Beach and all the other beaches, through social media, the word gets out in 5 seconds where you can park and at what time. And if the hillsides have no parking restriction 10 to 4, but the side streets do, then we're going to end up just moving the cars up the hill because they'll still come in. And we believe central to any solution for our community is to stop the cars from 10 to 4, which tends to be the peak times and where they're parking in the bike lanes, in the streets, in your driveway, and everywhere else. So please give that your strongest consideration. We'll work with your committee. But again, on behalf of the community, I want to thank you. You heard us, and it's greatly appreciated, and we look forward to working with you.
I just wanted to address your concern about the Malka Street. So yes, when we talked about the plan in March and December, we only talked about the loop and the connector streets. But we do understand that if you ban it there, they will just move to the Malka Street. So we are currently getting all the plans, doing the widths, taking all the dimensions, and making our plans for the Malka streets. Now, they are unimproved as well, and some of those streets are very narrow. So they will either be no parking anytime if it's not wide enough, and if some of them are wide enough, we're looking at putting parking on one side only. So we'll work with the community on the Malka side. We have not addressed them yet. We have not talked about this yet. So when the time comes, we are looking at working with them on what the best treatment is for those streets as well. So we are looking at that.
Okay.
For those Malka neighborhoods, we just want to thank the people who suggested that to us at the last time we met. So from this community came the ideas and really helped us implement a lot of these solutions. So mahalo for that.
I wish we had more time tonight. We do have time next Thursday at 7:15. On behalf of the neighborhood board, I would also like to thank your efforts on this project for the last couple of years. You have picked up many, maybe even most of the Kailua Neighborhood Board suggestions from last April, and it's been a comprehensive look, and we do appreciate it. We have another 10-minute presentation, and we have to be out in the next 13 minutes. So thank you. We will continue the discussion next Thursday, 7:15, Transportation Committee. Mahalo. Final presentation is Office of Hawaiian Affairs Strategic Plan Update by Stacy Ferreira, who is OHA's Chief Executive Officer.
Aloha ahi ahi kako. My name is Stacy Kealohalani Ferreira. I'll let everybody who needs to file out. Mahalo for those of you who are staying. I promise I'll give you 7 minutes of your life back. I'll just take 3 minutes to do a meet and greet with you all. Aloha, I'm Stacy. I am the CEO at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. I was born and raised in Mililani. Aloha. No, you're good. I currently call Kailua home. I live on Wana'au Road. My mom and her ohana are from Kailua, from North Kainalu Drive. So Kailua is very familiar to me. Aloha. Drive safely. I just wanted to share a little bit about the Office of Hawaiian Affairs and what we are. I'm not sure if everybody is familiar with who we are and what we do, but we are a constitutionally mandated and created agency by the state of Hawaii. Through the Constitution, we were established to address the disparities of the Native Hawaiians based off of the illegal overthrow of our Hawaiian kingdom. As a result, in Chapter 10, Hawaii Revised Statute, our office was created, and we use the resources that come from the public land trust revenues. So the 1.8 million acres of Hawaiian Kingdom Crown and government lands that were ceded to the United States and were then used for the state of Hawaii for parks, for schools, for churches, harbors and airports revenues, and lease rents that are collected from the public land trust is what helps to fund the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. The Office of Hawaiian Affairs has a 15-year strategic plan, and we are focused on housing, health outcomes, education, and economic resilience. And I'm not sure if you know the demographics of Hawaiians in your district. I have two set of numbers for you. For District 24, for Senator Jarrett Keohokalole, Kaneohe, and Kailua, there are 15,000 Native Hawaiians, approximately 15,600 Native Hawaiians. This is nearly 24% of the total of 65,000 residents in that district. In District 25, Kailua, Waimanalo, Hawaii Kai, there are almost 16,000 Native Hawaiians. So this accounts for nearly 29% of the total residents of 55,000. So there are quite a bit of Native Hawaiians that are living in our communities, are your neighbors, family, and friends. And so the Office of Hawaiian Affairs is here to work very closely with the board, with the community. And if there are any concerns, if there are needs that we should know about, we certainly want to partner and collaborate with all of you. We will be coming back. I hope to provide more specific, more focused data and programming specific to Kailua. But tonight, I just wanted to do a meet and greet and introduce myself and let you know that I am your neighbor. And my ohana is from Kailua. And so this is a place that is very familiar and I would consider home. So mahalo for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. Aloha.
Mahalo. We'll look forward to future updates. Mahalo. Next order of business is approval of minutes of the May 1st meeting. Are there any corrections or changes to the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Committee reports. Would any chair like to expand upon or modify your report? Otherwise, reports stand as published. Reports stand as published. Committee membership motions. Any changes to committee membership? We will have dynamic changes at our meeting next month. Chair's report. Committee agendas for July are due to the chair by Sunday, June 22nd. This meeting is adjourned at 9:52. Mahalo.